There are moments in life when the weight feels heavier than your strength. You pray, but the answer seems delayed. You believe, but the pain still lingers. And you begin to wonder, does God really see what I'm going through? The truth is this: God knows your struggle. Not just the surface problem, but the hidden tears, the silent fears, and the battles you don't talk about. Nothing about your situation has caught him by surprise. When life feels broken, we often ask God to remove the problem. But sometimes God's greater work isn't in removing the struggle, it's in redeeming it. The struggle may be loud, but it is not stronger than the purpose of God. What feels like delay is often preparation. What feels like silence is often strategy. Healing does not always arrive the way we expect, but it always arrives in the way we need. God is not limited to one method, one moment, or one miracle. He works through time, through process, and through pressure. And while you may feel stuck, heaven is still moving. Remember this: your struggle is temporary, but God's promise is eternal. The same God who allowed the storm is the God who controls the outcome. And just because you are hurting doesn't mean you are losing. Sometimes pain is proof that God is shaping something deeper, stronger, and more lasting within you. So don't give up in the middle of the story. Don't walk away while healing is on the way. Keep trusting, keep praying, keep standing, because God knows your struggle and He is faithful to finish what He started. There are times when the hardest part of a struggle is not the pain itself, but the feeling of being unseen. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. You show up, you smile, you say you're fine, but inside you are carrying questions, fears, and wounds no one else recognizes. In those moments, it's easy to believe that if people don't notice, maybe God doesn't either. But that assumption couldn't be further from the truth. God sees what others don't because His vision goes deeper than human observation. People see appearances, behavior, and outcomes, but God sees the heart. He sees the thoughts you don't say out loud and the tears you wipe away before anyone notices. He sees the exhaustion behind your strength and the faith it takes just to keep going. Long before a word forms on your lips, God already understands what you are carrying. Sometimes we expect God's care to look like public intervention, something obvious, immediate, and undeniable. But God often works in hidden ways, just as He sees hidden pain. While others may only see the version of you that functions, God sees the version of you that is barely holding on. He sees the late-night prayers whispered in frustration. He sees the moments when doubt creeps in and you wonder if your faith is enough. And instead of turning away, He draws closer. It's important to understand that being unseen by people does not mean being forgotten by God. In fact, many of the greatest transformations begin in places no one applauds. God often chooses quiet seasons to do His deepest work. When no one else is watching, He is shaping character, building endurance, and strengthening trust. The silence you feel from others may actually be an invitation from God to rely more fully on Him. God's awareness is also personal. He doesn't see struggles as categories or problems to manage. He sees them as experiences happening to someone He loves. Your struggle has a name to Him because you have a name to Him. You are not just another person going through something difficult. You are known. Your story matters. Your pain matters. And God's response to your struggle is not distant or detached. It is compassionate and intentional. When people misunderstand you, it can create frustration or even resentment. You may feel judged, overlooked, or pressured to explain yourself. But God never misinterprets your situation. He never assumes your motives or minimizes your pain. He knows when you are trying your best, even if the results don't show it. He knows when obedience costs you something. And He honors the faith it takes to remain faithful when no one is cheering you on. God also sees the parts of your struggle that you may not fully understand yourself. There are layers beneath the surface, past hurts, unmet needs, unanswered questions that shape how you respond to the present. While you may only see confusion, God sees clarity forming. While you may only feel weakness, God sees growth taking place. His perspective is not limited to the moment you're in. It extends to the future He is preparing. Knowing that God sees what others don't can change how you endure hardship. It reminds you that your struggle has meaning beyond what is visible right now. You don't have to prove your pain to God or perform strength for Him. You can come honestly without filters or explanations because He already knows. That awareness creates space for healing to begin. Not because everything suddenly changes, but because you are no longer carrying the weight alone. Even when the world is silent, heaven is attentive. Even when recognition is absent, God's presence is constant. The struggle you're facing may be hidden from others, but it is fully known by God. And that knowledge is not passive. It is active, caring, and purposeful, working even now in ways you may not yet see. Struggles have a way of making us question their value. When life becomes difficult, the natural response is to ask why the hardship exists at all. We often see struggles as interruptions, obstacles standing in the way of progress, joy, or peace. But from a deeper perspective, struggle can be more than a setback. It can be a tool. What feels like opposition may actually be part of God's intention to shape something stronger within us. Struggles serve a purpose because they expose what comfort often hides. In seasons where everything is easy, growth can become shallow. Difficulty, however, reveals what we truly depend on. When plans fall apart and strength runs low, we discover whether our trust is rooted in circumstances or in God Himself. Struggle strips away false security and forces us to confront what really matters, creating space for genuine faith to develop. Purpose in struggle is rarely obvious in the moment. When pressure is high, clarity is low. We want answers immediately, but God often allows understanding to come later. The purpose is not always to explain the pain, but to transform the person enduring it. Struggles refine perspective, teaching patience where impatience once ruled and humility where pride once stood. What once felt unbearable becomes the very thing that reshapes character. Struggle also builds endurance. Strength is not formed in ease, but through resistance. Just as muscles grow by being challenged, faith matures when it is tested. Each moment you choose to keep going, despite frustration, fear, or weariness, you are being strengthened in ways comfort could never achieve. The struggle may slow you down, but it is also grounding you, giving you the resilience needed for what lies ahead. There are lessons learned in struggle that cannot be taught any other way. Compassion often grows fro. Pain experienced personally. When you've walked through difficulty, you become more aware of the silent battles others carry. Your struggle equips you to comfort, encourage, and understand people in ways you couldn't before. What you once wished away becomes a source of empathy and wisdom, allowing your life to impact others beyond your own experience. Struggles can also redirect paths. Sometimes we are moving confidently in the wrong direction, and difficulty becomes the turning point. What feels like loss may actually be protection. What feels like delay may be correction. When doors close and plans unravel, struggle forces reevaluation. It slows us down long enough to hear God's guidance more clearly and reconsider priorities that may have gone unexamined in easier times. Purpose in struggle does not mean the pain is enjoyable or that it should be minimized. Struggle still hurts, and God does not dismiss that pain. But purpose gives pain meaning. It assures us that hardship is not random or wasted. Even when we don't see the outcome yet, we can trust that something valuable is being formed beneath the surface. Growth often happens quietly, long before results are visible. Struggle also teaches dependence. When self-sufficiency reaches its limit, we learn to rely on God in deeper ways. Prayer becomes more honest. Faith becomes less about routine and more about survival. In these moments, relationship replaces religion and trust becomes personal. the struggle becomes key place where faith moves from theory to reality, grounded in lived experience rather than abstract belief. Over time, many people look back and recognize that the struggle they once wanted to escape was the season that shaped them the most. It clarified values, strengthened faith, and deepened character. While no one chooses pain willingly, purpose can be found within it. Struggles may not define the final chapter, but they often prepare us for it, forming the strength, wisdom, and trust needed to step into what comes next. Healing is often imagined as an instant moment, a sudden change where pain disappears and everything feels right again. We hope for a clear before and after, a single answer that fixes what is broken. But more often than not, healing unfolds gradually. It moves through stages, seasons, and small steps that are easy to overlook. While we wait for a moment, God is often working through a process. A process requires patience, and patience can be uncomfortable when you are hurting. When healing takes time, it can feel like nothing is happening at all. Days blend together, prayers seem repetitive, and progress feels slow. But slowness does not mean absence. Growth that lasts usually happens beneath the surface before it shows on the outside. Just because healing isn't dramatic doesn't mean it isn't real. Process allows healing to go deeper than symptoms. A moment can change how you feel, but a process can change how you live. God is not only interested in easing pain, He is also concerned with restoring wholeness. That means addressing the roots beneath the wounds, habits, thought patterns, fears, and beliefs that developed over time. Quick relief might hide those deeper issues, but a process brings them into the light where true healing can occur. Healing through process also teaches awareness. As time passes, you begin to notice small changes that once seemed impossible. You react differently than you used to. You recover faster from disappointment. You gain clarity where there was once confusion. These changes may seem minor, but they are signs that healing is taking place. The process trains you to recognize progress without needing perfection. There are moments in the process when it feels like healing is going backward. Old pain resurfaces. Doubts return. Emotions you thought were gone come back unexpectedly. This can be discouraging, but setbacks do not cancel progress. Often, they reveal areas that still need attention. Healing is not a straight line. It is a journey with twists that refine and strengthen rather than undo the work already done. Process also creates space for trust. When healing is instant, it can be easy to focus only on the result. When healing takes time, relationship becomes central. You learn to rely on God daily, not just for an answer, but for strength, peace, and guidance in the waiting. Trust grows when you continue to believe even when outcomes are unclear. That kind of faith is formed over not in a single moment. Through process, identity is reshaped. Pain often changes how people see themselves, making them feel weak, broken, or defined by what they've been through. Healing that unfolds slowly allows those false identities to be replaced with truth. You begin to see yourself not as someone damaged beyond repair, but as someone being restored. Each step forward reinforces the truth that you are not stuck. You are becoming. Process also prepares you to sustain what healing brings. Sudden change without preparation can be overwhelming. Gradual healing strengthens emotional and spiritual capacity, helping you carry freedom responsibly. You learn boundaries, wisdom, and discernment along the way. By the time healing is evident, you are ready to protect it, maintain it, and build upon it. Waiting within the process can feel frustrating, especially when you compare your journey to others. Some people seem to move forward quickly while you feel delayed. But healing is personal, not competitive. God works uniquely in each life according to what is needed most. Comparison can distort perspective, but understanding process restores peace by reminding you that your pace is purposeful. Ultimately, healing as a process reminds us that God is committed not just to fixing moments, but to transforming lives. Every step, every pause, every lesson learned along the way has value. Even when the destination feels far away, the process itself is shaping strength, wisdom, indie faith. Healing may not arrive all at once, but with each step, restoration is quietly unfolding. Pain has a way of convincing people that something has gone wrong beyond repair. When hardship lingers, it's easy to assume that suffering is a sign of failure or loss. Many begin to believe that if life hurts this much, they must be losing, falling behind, or being punished. But pain by itself is not evidence of defeat. In many cases, pain is simply evidence that something significant is happening beneath the surface. Defeat suggests an ending, but pain often exists in the middle of the story. It shows up during transition, growth, and resistance. When you are pushing forward, resistance is expected. When something valuable is being formed, pressure is unavoidable. Pain does not automatically mean you are on the wrong path. Sometimes it means you are moving through a difficult but necessary part of the journey. Pain can feel discouraging because it limits what you can see. When you're hurting, your focus naturally narrows to survival. You measure progress by relief rather than purpose. But just because the moment feels heavy does not mean the outcome is hopeless. Many victories are preceded by seasons that look nothing like success. What feels like breaking may actually be reshaping. There is also a difference between pain and loss. Pain hurts, but it does not always take something away permanently. Loss removes, pain often refines. Pain can strip away illusions, unhealth, high attachments, and false confidence. But what remains is often stronger and more grounded. In that sense, pain can be a sign that you are being prepared, not defeated. Pain also exposes resilience you didn't know you had. Strength is rarely discovered in comfort. It's revealed when you keep going despite exhaustion, disappointment, or fear. Every time you choose not to quit, not to give in to bitterness, not to abandon hope, you are demonstrating strength, even if it doesn't feel like it. Endurance itself is a form of victory, even when circumstances haven't changed yet. Many people equate success with feeling good, but growth often feels uncomfortable. Pain can accompany learning, maturity, and change. When old patterns are challenged and new ones are forming, discomfort is natural. That discomfort does not mean you are failing. It often means you are outgrowing something that no longer fits who you are becoming. Pain can also deepen perspective. When everything is easy, it's tempting to live on the surface. Pain forces reflection. It causes you to ask deeper questions, reevaluate priorities, and recognize what truly matters. This shift in perspective can lead to wiser decisions and healthier boundaries. Though painful, this kind of awareness can prevent future harm and guide you toward a more meaningful direction. Another reason pain is mistaken for defeat is because it isolates. When you hurt, you may feel like you're the only one struggling while others move forward. But isolation distorts reality. Many people carry unseen pain while still moving forward step by step. Progress does not always look strong or confident. Sometimes it looks like persistence in the middle of weakness. Pain does not erase value. Your worth is not measured by how comfortable your life is or how quickly things improve. Pain does not reduce who you are or what you're capable of becoming. Even in seasons of struggle, your life still holds meaning, purpose, and potential. Pain may slow you down, but it does not disqualify you. It's also important to remember that pain can coexist with hope. Feeling hurt does not mean you stop believing. It means you're human. You can ache and still trust. You can grieve and still move forward. Pain and progress are not opposites. They often travel together. When viewed through a wider lens, pain becomes part of the process rather than proof of defeat. It marks the places where growth is happening, where strength is being built, and where transformation is underway. Pain may shape the journey, but it does not determine the destination. Even when it feels overwhelming, pain is not the final word. There is a critical moment in every struggle where giving up feels like the most reasonable option. Fatigue sets in. Hope feels fragile, and the distance between where you are and where you want to be seems too great. In that space, quitting can feel like relief. But what often goes unseen is how close breakthrough can be when the urge to quit is strongest. The pressure to stop is sometimes greatest right before progress begins. Breakthrough rarely announces its arrival. It doesn't come with warning signs or guarantees. Instead, it often follows long seasons of effort that appear unproductive. You may have been doing the right things without seeing results, praying, believing, trying, showing up, yet nothing seems to change. That lack of visible progress can make perseverance feel pointless, but unseen work is still work and unseen progress is still progress. Quitting in the middle of the story cuts off what perseverance is building. Endurance develops qualities that ease never could: patience, discipline, humility, and trust. These qualities aren't instant rewards. They are formed slowly, often in obscurity. When you keep going despite discouragement, you are becoming someone who can carry the breakthrough when it comes, not just experience it briefly. There is also a difference between delay and denial. Delay tests commitment, while denial closes doors. Many people mistake waiting for rejection. When answers don't come quickly, it's easy to assume they're not coming at all. But timing matters. Growth often requires readiness, and readiness takes time. What feels like a closed door may simply be a door that hasn't opened yet. Quitting can feel logical when emotions are overwhelmed. Feelings can be powerful indicators, but they are not always reliable guides. Discouragement speaks loudly, but it does not speak truthfully. It magnifies difficulty and minimizes purpose. Perseverance, on the other hand, is not about ignoring pain. It's about refusing to let pain make the final decision. Many breakthroughs are internal before they are external. Long before circumstances change, perspective begins to shift. Confidence grows quietly. Fear loosens its grip. Hope becomes steadier. These interchanges often go unnoticed, but they are signs that perseverance is working. If you quit too soon, you may miss recognizing how much you've already changed. Perseverance also builds consistency, and consistency builds momentum. Even small steps repeated over time create movement. You don't need to feel strong to keep going. You just need to keep going. Some days perseverance looks bold. Other days it looks like simply not giving up. Both matter. Both count. Comparison can make perseverance harder. When others seem to move forward faster, it can feel unfair and discouraging. But every journey has a different pace and purpose. What you are learning in your waiting may be exactly what someone else will need from you later. Your perseverance is not wasted. It is shaping a story that has value beyond what you can currently see. There is also power in remembering why you started. Purpose fuels endurance. When motivation fades, purpose sustains. Reconnecting with what matters most can strengthen resolve when emotions weaken it. The reason you began may still be valid, even if the road has been harder than expected. Perseverance does not mean forcing outcomes or ignoring limits. It means staying committed without becoming rigid. It allows for rest without surrender, adjustment without abandonment. You can pause without quitting. You can feel tired without walking away. Continuing does not always mean pushing harder. Sometimes it means trusting deeper. The moment you are most tempted to stop is often the moment when perseverance matters most. Breakthrough is not always immediate, but quitting guarantees it won't happen. Continuing keeps the door open. Even when progress feels invisible, perseverance keeps you aligned with what is still possible. Holding on a little longer may be the very thing that allows healing, change, and growth to finally come into view.